Imagine if Australia's next great gateway to the world didn't rise beside the Opera House or along the shores of Bondi, but instead emerged far to the west of Sydney's famous skyline. Around 44 kilometres from the harbour's glow, an entirely new aviation story is being written. For decades, Sydney's primary airport has been stretched to its limits, boxed in by suburbs, outdated systems, and a ceiling it simply could not break through. Now, something radically different is taking form. After years of political hesitation and relentless growth in travel demand, Australia is finally constructing its first major airport in more than 50 years. This is not merely an extra runway added to the map. It is a ground-up rethink of what a global airport can be in the 21st century, designed for round-the-clock operations, infused with advanced technology, and shaped by the natural forms of the Blue Mountains nearby. This project aims to change how Australians move and how the nation positions itself on the world stage. Today, we're exploring the roughly $20 billion Western Sydney International Airport, a development that could redefine Australian aviation for generations. Will it become a model other countries rush to copy, or will it stand as one of the most expensive gambles in the nation's history? Let's dive in. And if you enjoy deep stories like this, subscribing and liking the video is the best way to support the channel. Sydney's Kingsford Smith Airport has served as the city's aviation heart since 1920. It is one of the busiest airports in the Southern Hemisphere, yet also one of the most restricted. Sitting just 8 kilometers from the CBD and hemmed in by dense residential areas, its ability to expand has been choked by geography, planning rules, and growing congestion on the ground and in the air. One of its most serious constraints is a legally binding night curfew introduced in the mid-1990s, which shuts down most aircraft movements between late night and early morning. Aside from a handful of exemptions, passenger flights are largely banned during these hours, placing a hard cap on capacity in a city whose global connections continue to grow year after year. Before the pandemic, annual passenger numbers had already climbed beyond 4 to 4 million. With Sydney's population forecast to pass 6 million within the next decade, the pressure on existing infrastructure became impossible to ignore. Discussions about a second airport have circulated for more than 40 years, driven by rising demand, urban expansion, and the simple reality that Kingsford Smith had nowhere left to go. Badgerys Creek was identified as a potential site as far back as the 1980s. But political uncertainty, environmental debates, and community opposition repeatedly stalled progress. That stalemate finally broke in the mid-2010s, when federal approval was granted for a new airport. Construction followed soon after, and the project was officially named Western Sydney International Airport. This development ranks among the most ambitious infrastructure undertakings in modern Australian history. Spread across a vast greenfield site of nearly 1,800 hectares, the airport is being purpose-built not only to handle future aviation demand, but to act as a catalyst for economic growth across Western Sydney. The first phase, scheduled to open in late 2026, is designed to accommodate around 10 million passengers each year. At its core is a 3.7-kilometer runway built to Code F standards, capable of welcoming the world's largest long-haul aircraft. Beneath its surface lies a complex system of reinforced layers and advanced drainage, while thousands of LED lights ensure safe operations in all weather, day or night. The terminal itself has been designed with flexibility in mind. Up to 16 contact gates will serve both domestic and international flights, with infrastructure that can be expanded over time to eventually support more than 80 million passengers and hundreds of thousands of tons of freight each year. Architecturally, the building takes cues from its natural surroundings, using flowing forms, earthen materials, and open spaces that encourage light, air, and a sense of place. Technology runs through every part of the airport. Artificial intelligence will drive baggage systems capable of handling thousands of bags per hour. Australia's first fully remote digital air traffic control tower will manage aircraft movements. Biometric processing, touch-free journeys, and real-time crowd monitoring are all intended to reduce friction and make travel feel effortless. Environmental performance has been placed at the center of the design. Thousands of solar panels, rainwater capture systems, native landscaping, and energy-efficient materials are all part of a push toward a top-tier sustainability rating. Wide corridors, intuitive layouts, and smart navigation tools aim to ensure the airport is accessible to everyone. Alongside this, a 24-hour cargo precinct is set to significantly expand Sydney's freight capacity. The airport does not stand alone. It is being woven into a wider transport network that includes a new M12 motorway and a dedicated metro rail line, transforming the site into a fully integrated transport hub. While the core airport infrastructure, funded entirely by the federal government, carries a price tag of just over $5 billion Australian dollars, that figure represents only part of the total investment. Billions more are being poured into rail connections, major road upgrades, and local infrastructure, funded jointly by federal and state governments. On top of this, private investors are developing large-scale logistics and industrial facilities adjacent to the airport. When public and private spending is combined, total investment in the airport and its surrounding ecosystem exceeds $20 billion. Construction has been advancing steadily since work began in 2018. One of the largest earth-moving efforts in Australian history reshaped the landscape, shifting tens of millions of cubic meters of soil. The runway is now complete, along with its lighting, taxiways, and navigation systems. The terminal's main structure was finished in early 2024, with current work focused on interiors, digital systems, retail spaces, and operational testing. Delivery of the project involves a consortium of major construction and engineering firms, each responsible for different components. Essential services, utilities, and support facilities are already in place, while the cargo precinct and on-site emergency services continue to take shape. At the same time, external projects like the motorway and metro line are being carefully coordinated to ensure seamless connectivity. Despite its momentum, the airport has not escaped criticism. One major concern centers on transport access during its early years. The metro rail link is expected to open after the airport itself, raising questions about how passengers will reach the terminal during its initial phase of operation. Environmental groups have also voiced ongoing objections. The site overlaps habitat of native and endangered species, and while biodiversity offset programs have been introduced, critics argue they do not go far enough. Aircraft noise is another sensitive issue, with tens of thousands of residents projected to experience increased sound levels as operations ramp up. There are also economic challenges. High infrastructure charges in the surrounding aerotropolis could slow private investment, potentially delaying the broader transformation that planners envision for the region. Still, the airport's ability to operate around the clock offers a level of flexibility unmatched by Sydney's existing airport. Major airlines have already committed to operating from Western Sydney, with more partnerships expected to follow. The dedicated freight facilities are positioned to reshape logistics across the region, strengthening export capacity and supply chains throughout the Asia-Pacific. From day one, the airport's smart systems are designed to prioritize efficiency and ease, from automated baggage handling to biometric boarding and digitally managed air traffic. Its layout emphasizes inclusivity and clarity, reflecting a broader ambition to combine innovation with human-centered design. Western Sydney International Airport is poised to become a defining piece of Australia's future connectivity. When it opens in late 2026, it will ease pressure on Kingsford Smith, unlock new economic opportunities, and anchor Western Sydney as a major hub of growth. As construction continues and the landscape transforms, anticipation is building among communities, businesses, and travelers alike. With expansion already planned, including a future second runway and larger terminals, the airport is engineered to grow alongside demand for decades to come. Smart, sustainable, and modular by design, it represents a bold shift in how Australia imagines and builds its infrastructure that as the final cranes move and the first lights begin to glow across the runway, this airport becomes more than concrete and steel. It becomes a signal, a statement about where Australia believes its future lies and how far it is willing to go to reach it. In a world where mobility shapes power, trade, and opportunity, gateways like this do more than move people. They redefine regions. Whether Western Sydney International Airport ultimately exceeds expectations or faces growing pains, its impact is already unfolding. New industries are forming around it. New communities are being reshaped by it. And a part of Sydney long overlooked is stepping into the global spotlight. Sometimes, the most important transformations don't happen where the world is already watching. They begin quietly, far from the skyline, building momentum until the future can no longer be ignored. And as aircraft begin to descend over open plains instead of crowded suburbs, a different rhythm of aviation will take hold. Fewer compromises, more flexibility, and the freedom to operate when the world demands it. Night flights, Long-haul connections and cargo movements that once faced strict limits will now have space to breathe, reshaping how Australia fits into global time zones and trade networks. For Western Sydney, the airport represents more than convenience. It represents access. Access to jobs, to investment, to opportunities that were once concentrated closer to the coast. Logistics hubs, advanced manufacturing, education precincts, and technology clusters are already being planned around this new gateway, laying the foundation for a region that no longer plays a supporting role, but stands at the center of growth. Yet history reminds us that ambition alone is never enough. Mega projects live or die by execution, by affordability, by whether everyday people feel the benefits in their daily lives. The coming years will test whether the transport links keep pace, whether environmental promises are honored, and whether the surrounding aerotropolis evolves into a thriving ecosystem rather than a fragmented vision. Still, few projects in Australia's recent history carry stakes this high. Western Sydney International Airport is not just preparing for its first passengers. It is preparing for decades of demand, uncertainty, and change. Built to expand, designed to adapt, and positioned to compete, it reflects a future that refuses to stand still. In the end, airports are mirrors of the nations that build them. They reveal priorities, confidence, and belief in what comes next. And as this new runway stretches toward the horizon, it asks a simple but powerful question. Is Australia ready for the future it is constructing? Now the question turns to you. Do you see this as a visionary leap forward, or a risk that could fall short of its promise? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.